How do you get permission to live your best life? How do you get permission to pursue your purpose here in this world? That is the focus today. And as we've discussed in previous episodes, today, by the way, is episode number 10. That means we have now in 2026 gone through almost in 2 days, it will be 7 cycles, 7 10-day cycles. That means 29 cycles left to go in 2026. So we're making it happen. So thank you for coming along on this journey with me. Again, just like I do every week, I have my notes here. I have an idea, but as I wrote the notes and I went over the notes, just different sorts of ideas come to me from today. So I'm going to just jump around a little bit like usual, little sporadic, little bit nutty, but the content comes through with the purpose. This is what we're going to talk about today, is how to get permission to pursue your purpose, pursue your dream, live the best life that you want to live. And I'll give you a little hint. You have to claim it. But in order to claim it, there's a process that you have to go through. And it's basically like the hero's journey, as many of you may know about. We'll do a segment on that in the future in a little bit more detail. But it involves suffering and overcoming obstacles and basically proving to the universe, proving to your co-creator that you are worthy of creating something spectacular and keep in mind, it's like you can choose what you want, right? I've seen movies before. Imagine a movie. I've seen movies before where the plot's all right. It just kind of slugs along. Maybe it's a drama. Maybe they were trying to make it fun or whatever, but it basically just kind of went for 90 minutes or 2 hours, and then the movie was over, and it was just kind of like, yeah, it was all right. Okay? The writer chose to write that story. The producer chose to help create and produce that. The actor and actors involved, they chose that script and went along with that script. So in this world, in this life, you are the writer, okay? You are the co-writer. That reminds me of Black Widow. The original lyrics were, "You're my co-writer." It's a love story about a character. The feminine character is a bit dangerous, potentially. It's called Black Widow, so the male character is unsure but trusting and going toward this hypnotic energy. And in that process, the original lyrics were, "You're my co-writer," as though you co-write this reality with me. So let's write it together. And then, what's the term? When you foreshadow, it might not turn out too well. We don't know what happens in that creative work. Black Widow, the song written by Jim Quarless. We're going to talk about Jim Quarless music. You can say Jim Q music for short, but this is what we're going to share. We're going to talk about today because we're talking about purpose and destiny and making sure that you leave something behind that's valuable and worthy. And even if, forgive me for jumping around, even if that movie, let's say, it's just a normal movie about a family and about a strong character, a parent, a mother or father, and they raise their children in a way and love their children, and they produce grandchildren, and they have this experience, and then they're an elderly person looking back on their life, and it was a good family friendly movie, and that was the story. And that's your story. That's a beautiful story. So that can be what you pursue and what you want in this world. Perhaps you're someone that wants to do something else, something that, and I would suggest that my purpose, and as I speak to you, perhaps it is your purpose, that you know you're here for something. And like I said, I don't want to take away from that grandpa or grandma that influenced that life, because in the way the collective consciousness works and the way we are all co-creators, although you do get your own universe, we are all a consciousness. Like, think of like an ocean, and we are droplets in the ocean, and some of us are just kind of little waves floating around. Maybe we're droplets. Some of us become huge typhoons, okay, or huge tidal waves or tsunamis, okay. So within this, we can't, you, what you need to do, because I want to respect you, and I'm not just speaking to the people with huge dreams. I'm speaking to the people, if you are someone who is caring and kind and loving and want to, when you leave this earth, this should be your minimum goal. When you leave this realm, you left it better than you found it in some way, like the way you interacted with those around you. And that in itself, because it's a ripple effect, you may not even know you in this, see, you think you're in a movie where you're the main character, and your movie's this simple movie where you're, going to live to be an old person, and you have your grandkids, and you did a great job, and you're fishing, at the lake, giving wisdom. However, in the grandchild's world, in their realm, grandpa or grandma, you may be a powerful supporting character that influences them in a way that you had no idea, no comprehension of what that little seed that one day you were fishing and you made a comment about how to live or pursuing your dreams, anything you want, you can have, something like that. And now that person takes it, runs with it, and your little grandkid becomes someone powerful in the reality. Okay? So with that said, let's jump right into it. I wanted to share a point. I'm going to jump off screen because I have a pink cup. All right, I'm going to jump off screen. Oh. All right. What else have green? Ah. All right. More and more as I pursue this project, and as I get older, and as I realize that my time here is limited and I will check out, it becomes very clear that within this project as well, the focus and purpose is to share what I've learned and pass that on to you, including mistakes I've made, so it can benefit you in some way. Perhaps if I say, hole, like we're on a march, and I'm like, like there's a hole in the ground, hole, and then you're walking behind me, and you're like, oh, hole, okay? If I don't say anything, that's the key here. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So I want to share this idea of pain. I've said this previously, where if you haven't really experienced pain or suffering or something negative, then you cannot really truly appreciate happiness or things that are positive. Because if you don't have a negative, you don't have a positive. It's the yin yang, right? Up, down, left, right, opposite. So you need to have that sense of an opposite. And then when you're in that positive, whether it's feelings or experience or even physically, right? If you've felt pain, physical pain, when you don't, or you've been very sick, like, oh man, like throwing up or whatever, you feel like trash. And then if you've had those experiences, I'm sure you have, if you've had those experiences, then when you don't have them, you're like, I'm feeling pretty good, And yeah, so within that idea, I'd like to share the idea of pain, loss, and even betrayal. So what we have to keep in mind, it's important not to think of God, source, or the creator, co-creator, right? The co-creator, as some sort of entity that's conscious in a way that we believe it could be, where it wants to see suffering, okay? The way I perceive it, because I've had my fair share of pain and suffering and loss, okay? So as I reflect on these things that are obviously negative, right? You can't say, well, my dad died. It could be perceived as negative, but it's actually positive. And as it's funny because as I just randomly took some idea and as I shared that, and I actually have my DQ shirt on today, Duncan A. Quarless, the catalyst of the Quarless.com ecosystem. As I think about my father, I think so positively about how he influenced me and others around us and impacted all the people that he came in contact with. Mostly positive, probably some negative, because when you have positive energy, you always attract haters. And those haters could be people that pretend, and they pretend they're your friend or your family and they're close to you, but really they're shady and they're haters. So you always got to keep in mind, you always got to be aware of that, okay? But the point I was making is that, yes, it's a negative thing that he passed away. However, when we reframe it and we really look at his life, he did make it, almost to 90, late 80s, so he almost made it. And he lived a good life, and in those last few years, he did start to deteriorate. So in a positive way, he did live a long life, okay? There are many that check out a lot sooner, and that's what we're going to cover today, because you can't assume that anything beyond right now, this present moment, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it at some point in the future, okay? It is the 8th of March, 2026, and this is episode 10 of Quarless Chronicles Live. We always have to, again, I'm just throwing it in before I forget, Quarless.com is the premier purpose-driven creative ecosystem on planet Earth in 2026 and beyond. And why this is valuable to you, we need to tweak it a little bit, because I'm talking about a thing, an entity, right? But you are a part of that. So you are welcome to be a part, because you are powerful in 2026 if you claim it. So, and I wanted to make a point too about this negative experience. So negative things happen, okay? You may lose someone that was in your life sooner than you had imagined, okay? Through death or other types, maybe through separation, etc., through divorce. Things happen, okay? You may have suffered injuries or things that can be perceived as accidents, let's say, natural occurrences, things like this, okay? There could also be intentional things where people hurt you, okay? And yes, it sucks, but as I mentioned, this is part of the process of truly appreciating being alive. And when you have positive experiences, recognizing with your true nature. Let me rephrase that. When there are positive things, including opportunities, you recognize them in a way that it can resonate with your heart, with your true feelings, okay? It's not superficial, it's your true sense. And this is the key to manifestation and to co-creation, because people have always said, like, you have your mind, you have your mind, you have your thoughts, you have consciousness in this way, and you could repeatedly say you have a desire for an outcome, etc. But if you're not feeling that genuinely, this is the language of the universe, okay? So whatever language, I'm speaking in English now, obviously, but whatever language you could know other languages, maybe English is not your first language, you think in a different language, and if that process is happening, the language you speak, human language, is irrelevant. It's this language of feeling. And when you feel it, whoa, think of like you've heard of frequency and vibration, right? So think of your vibration, and the frequency is like you're tuning into this thing. That's how the universe communicates. And I would argue that we don't welcome it. We don't want negative experiences. But when you have negative experiences, it allows you to recognize positive experiences and appreciate positive experiences that are occurring and that may occur. And that allows you to take the future, the positive opportunity, the opportunity is in the present moment for some future outcome. You take that outcome, you bring it into the future. I'm sorry, see, I'm time traveling over here. You take the outcome that you desire, which is in the future, you bring it into your present moment, and now because you can truly appreciate this, you can resonate with it in the present moment as though it has already occurred. You've heard this before, I'm sure, if you're familiar with self-development, manifestation, but this is the process. That's how come you can the problem with people that have had negative experiences. Perhaps you've been abused as a child, or somebody really, even in adulthood, somebody really screwed you over, someone you trusted, right? These things can impact you in such a powerful way that like you can't even believe it. It's unimaginable because you believed that you were in a world that didn't have these types of characters. Like, hey, I'm co-creating and I'm kind and I'm good and as I co-create with the universe, some demon comes along and screws up your plan, or something that seems like a natural, a natural accident happens, and then the issue is, and I've heard this term before, this concept is, maybe it's a bit cliche-ish, but it's like if you're driving and you're moving forward, the things that have happened in the past, if you keep looking in the rear view mirror and looking behind, number one, you can't focus on the future and maybe you're going to crash. Number two, you're pulling those things into your view. You're pulling them into your view, and then you are unable to properly go to the destination where you're focused on going. Okay? So you can leave that stuff behind, peel out, you know what I mean? Don't forget it, remember it, but don't have it come into this reality in a way that's going to make you negatively frame the opportunities in front of you. That's the whole idea of reframing, and the fact that you are, and as I've mentioned in previous episodes, the rules to this game of life is that you don't self-check out, okay? So you pursue it, shit's gonna hit you, right? You rub it off, and you keep, I was like, then you got to take a shower. But my point is, things are going to get thrown at you. Or let's say you're getting hit, pop, pop, right? You roll with the punches, continue to focus on having purpose. And if you're not sure about your purpose, the key is and this is what I want to talk about today. What do you feel so excited about in your life? And the idea is, even if you wouldn't be paid for it, you'd be willing to do it anyway. This is your true nature. This is your true purpose. And the key is, you may have more than one. Like, I love working with children. I love seeing, and again, basically very small, when they're babies, like playgroup level, when they're just forming their sense of self-identity and social elements and how to interact and communicate with the world. This is the perfect age to really influence them to become very powerful and confident. And then it goes to the next phase, which is the formative years, 3 to 7. These are the formative years where the child is in like a theta state. They're almost like in the same level when people are hypnotized. They're in this state constantly, and they're very open. They're very susceptible. So at this age, it's very good to work with kids and help develop them so they could be the most effective human beings through the rest of their life. And that has a triple effect, because they will influence and work with others. So I have a deep passion and I feel this is my purpose, okay? But I also, and the beautiful thing is there is a need. So that the key is you have to find a need in the market if you want to earn money. And I'm going to talk about this today about what your musts are, right? Let's go into that now, and I'll circle back to this. Your needs. You know what? I am jumping all over today. Let me say this. What we're going to share today is how, and I'll just tell you now, working with kids is a passion I have, but my absolute number one passion is to create. It's electro. I say electro pop, but it sounds really like boo boo doo doo electro pop. It's not like that at all. My original term was electro rock, but it's a little bit outdated. But my passion absolutely is, and I use a stream of consciousness to create it, including writing the lyrics, writing the melodies, putting all the instrumentals together. And the concept is I take traditional instrumental instruments, piano, horns, guitar, bass guitar, drums, different types of percussion. That is one element of it, traditional instruments combined with digital, more modern, modern music with bass lines, stuff like that. And then with different effects, when you bring those things together, it's a beautiful harmony, almost like a mini orchestra, okay, with these different instruments. And by the way, the instruments, you'll have a few core instruments, they'll have different melodies going, but every so many beats they'll loop together, right? So there's like this pattern of it's almost like characters that have their own sort of, each individual instrument has its own kind of personality, and it's communicating in its own way musically, and then together it forms something beautiful that is, it's the sum is greater than what's the term? The sum is greater than the different parts put together, right? I remember there's some mathematical term like this. So that's what it is. And then I have a vocal style, which is a little bit raspy. I have a certain range that I feel comfortable with, so I stay within this range. It complements the music, and the messaging is very positive about self-development. If it's related to, I have many songs related to love, and it relates to monogamy, honesty, right? So it's like things that are positive. It ain't like shaking and twerking or whatever, right? It's like very cool. And if there are any risque type messaging, it's sort of woven in a way that's artistic, I believe. So my passion is this. And so it's almost like the source is telling me, the universe, my co-creator is telling me, there are several things that I have a skill set in, that I can provide value into this realm. This electro pop music concept, especially with the fact that it is positive, the energy of the music is positive and the messaging is positive. And in this world we live in, I'm sure you've heard of the news with all this wacky, who's running this realm, if you know what I'm saying, and different news. I try not to get too caught up in that, but when you're aware of that, it's like it resonates with me so strongly that putting out my creative music is highly important, because as I mentioned, someone once told me, you need to focus on earning money now, make money, and then you have the thing that you're passionate about. You need to focus on that in the future. Well, what if you're dead in the future? What if you can't, what if something happens? What if creatively I start losing my mojo, all right? What if I have some sort of brain injury, and then suddenly I can't create it. It's like I have it now. I'm getting these creative ideas, and to not pursue them would be a flaw. Would be an absolute. It's like I've made. I'll share with you. I can't share the detail, but I've had my gut, my intuition in the purest, strongest, most powerful form communicating to me where I feel it in my whole being and I need to take a certain action. And then I've had other entities, not within me, not with my streamlined connection. I've had other entities influence me to make decisions that weren't in alignment with that. And I have suffered for years, brutally suffered for years for decisions I've made. So now, and I'll tell you what happened this past week, as I've been meditating. I'm going to talk about rituals today as well. I've been meditating every morning simply for 10 minutes in silence, starting with the bell, 3 bells, breathing, boom, boom, boom. I've talked about it before. Anyway, 10 minutes, that's all you need. In this process, I start to lose, and sometimes I will think I have a timer, and I'm sitting in silence with my eyes closed, but I get so lost in the time. I've had cases where I think because sometimes it's an app and there'll be some malfunction and I'll go super long, but I don't know how long it is because I'm like, man, this is a long time. And then the app malfunction, the timer didn't tell me. But then it was like, oh, there was a purpose to that, right? Potentially. So I went a little longer than normal, but I got what I needed. Other times I'll believe that same thing happened and the time it's way too long. Like I lose my sense of time is the key. And once you lose your sense of time, this is where, as you meditate, you start to interact with the ether where there is no time, okay? And sometimes in this process, I believe it must have gone over time and the app's not functioning right. And then I look and I'm on like 8 minutes, 8 minutes into 15, 16, 17. And it's like, oh, so, and then other times, this is the best times are when you'll be thinking of something. And I've shared this before, but I just want to make the point. You try to just go with the flow, observe your thoughts, whether they come, it's fine. But the goal within this framework is observing your thoughts, okay? And then at some point, ding, the 10-minute bell rings and there's some kind of epiphany, or I was in the middle of like, oh, that's the idea. Like some idea starts to come like, oh, and it's a solution about some problem I had. And then all of a sudden, boom, the bell rings. I slowly open my eyes, but immediately it's over there somewhere, take out my notebook and write down the points and the ideas. And what came to me this week, stay with me now. What came to me this week, because I'm behind, you'll know in the accountability section, I'm way behind with some core tasks that need to get done. We have multiple brands that we are in the process of developing and launching. We're still working on growing the team. So it's like, we need other people. I'm just one man with a massive vision and multiple tasks to do. So, and that's just the reality. So it's like, so what do? I keep going forward. That's it. And I document the process. That's why we're here together. And then we can look back. This is the beauty. We can look back and be like, that's what perseverance is. That's how you do it. All right. So I just lost my train of thought. It was about, all these different brands. So we have the main Quarless brand, the Barbadian Heritage Project, Mr. Jim Q, the English brand, Chinese Kung Fu, that's our working title. We have the Chinese Kung Fu brand. Something's slipping me. It wasn't part of my plan to go through all of them, but The newest brand that came was Jim Quarless Music, the music brand. Think of it as like Jim Quarless, like that's who I am, right? So it's Jim Quarless Entertainment. So I go on television, I've done some acting, this sort of thing. So there's some element of entertainment there, and more of that content will be being released from my television appearances and this kind of thing. But within the entertainment realm, music is the key. Like you see some of these characters that are well known, and are they actors first and then musicians, or are they musicians first and you see them every now and then cameoing in a movie or something? I'm the latter. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. And this is why I'm sharing with you. I mentioned before, this is for your pain, for your suffering, for things that have happened in the past and you're dealing with it. Perhaps you need to deal with it knowingly for the rest of your life. The key is knowing absolutely that that pain, that suffering, that trauma is a powerful tool for you to reframe and understand that you have something that you can pursue. That's why you can't check out. Something powerful to pursue. I call it some people say warrior spirit. You have a warrior spirit. I say you are a spirit warrior. So you take that and you project it outwardly. You convert. You got to convert. That's what I'm saying, reframing. You convert and you know why I'm saying this? Because this has been my own personal experience and my own journey. So what I've been able to do, and this is the reality, it's basically how to not give a fuck is what I'm talking about. And it's so amazing when you start to really experience that. It's like you've had negative experiences before. People you've trusted have fucked you over. You realize that life is limited and there is a universe, a source, and it is providing you an opportunity to co-create something massive, something powerful. So what do you do with all the shit from before? You take the shit, you reframe it, you convert it into fuel, into power. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, okay? Now what we do, that means you are a spirit warrior. You're taking that energy, right? Are you feeling it? We're out. You with me now? So you take that and you convert the energy. Where am I at? Oh, yes. And the key, this is the key. It's not about me, right? Say that to yourself. Hey, me. It's not about me. It's about the pursuit of what you are doing. It's not even about the goal. Yes, there's an objective, there's a vision, there's something we want, right? We want to pursue. We are pursuing. That's how we do it. We don't want. If you want, it's not in the present moment, right? So you say we are. I am pursuing this thing, right? And this is how you win. The fulfillment is in the pursuit, not in the attainment. So if you frame it like that, imagine that. The goal, whatever, you need to run a race, right? And the objective is to win the race, right? But if you frame it that the fulfillment comes in the training, the fulfillment comes in the preparation, the appreciation comes from, if you're running a race, you have two functional legs, right? So maybe in the past you've had an injury, right? So it's like, I had an injury, I'm talking about reframing everything and appreciating everything. So it's like, this is sort of an analogy of what I mentioned before. You've had injuries in the past, or maybe you were really overweight and now you're training to run a marathon, right? It's not about, yes, it would be amazing and beautiful, and yes, I want to win the marathon. I want to win I intend to win the marathon. I am winning the marathon, right? But the reality is training and preparing to be in the marathon is the deal. And then, yes, in the end, at some future point, we don't even want to go there because we want to live in the now. We want to live in the fulfillment. We don't want to live where the race didn't even happen yet. Okay, but at some point, I'm gonna keep it abstract. The idea is frame it properly. You made it to marathon day. You started the marathon race because who knows, right? You get an injury, you know, there's some issue, you don't successfully complete the marathon, right? That's a possibility, but we don't. There's all possibilities in the future. We don't think like that. We think about training today. I like, for example, today I was in the gym. I did some stretching, some basic thing to get my body recovered from a previous injury. So, and then, hey, by the way, it's like the more intense training is coming, but I didn't focus on, hey, that element. I focused on the fact that I went to the gym, the fact that I did I'm thinking about something funny where it was like, you always have to push yourself. Okay, I understand this concept and I agree with this concept. At the same time, you have to know your body, you have to know yourself, you have to understand that sometimes if you push too hard, you might break something, especially as you get older. All right? I'm just letting you know. Okay. So the point, the analogy with the marathon, the fulfillment comes in the training and not pursue. Don't even worry about the marathon. Maybe the marathon got canceled. Maybe the race gets canceled. Maybe the race, so don't even think like that. Focus on the fulfillment. But my point is, in the future, there's some loose idea, okay? If you are an elite athlete, yes, if you're an elite athlete, you're seeing yourself, run through there, bursting through the tape, if you will, winning the marathon, right? Perhaps you can see yourself if and I've never run a marathon, but I'm imagining, like right now as I say this, I'm imagining my vision, my perception of the future is completing the marathon, right? Like completing the marathon. Once I start training and I have a better sense of my time, I definitely will push myself. So it's like, what's a reasonable time? Then you start getting a target in terms of when you want to complete the marathon by. But ultimately, the fulfillment comes in the preparation and the training. So that's the key with all parts of goal achievement. And well, let's call it, I don't like the term goal, because to me, when you have a goal, I think about sports like football or soccer, something like this, where there's a goal. They score a goal. They want to get the goal, but there's someone always blocking the goal. That it's like you might not get the goal. The team is advancing down the field, and their objective, their purpose is to score a goal. But sometimes they don't score the goal, and the other team gets it, runs back. So goal is not a good word. Okay, outcome is a word, because no matter what, you will get an outcome. So you have even when as I say this now, I say desired outcome. If for some reason I'm just thinking aloud, I'm spitballing here, but desired outcome to me puts it away from you. So it's almost like a developing outcome. You need to keep it in the present tense, okay? And I'll revisit that at a future point. Okay. And the key here, I was saying before, don't say me, 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 me. Don't make the focus on me. Like, hey, look at me doing this or whatever. What I do within this project, because I'm using myself as the purpose is to document the pursuit, so in a way, I'm sort of doing this for myself. It's like I imagine these movies where people are like traveling deep into space, and they turn on the recorder and they discuss, how their thoughts and their feelings and what's going on and what they're pursuing. It's like a log, right? So it's like this kind of idea. So in a way, I am actually doing it for my own purposes, but as I do it, there are ideas that you can take and pursue, and or you can reject. Okay, so that's the point I want to make, is that when you focus on fulfillment, that is how you become a leader, even if you don't feel that you are leader material, or if that's not your focus or your purpose. It's automatic. When you are pursuing something and focused on fulfillment as you pursue the thing, this is what's contagious. This is what people want to understand more about. Okay, so, and that's what I hope to provide to you as I'm pursuing this, and you see I'm fulfilled with all the problems. It's so funny because Kimmy asked me today, because we're starting a bit late. She's like, "Hey, are we on?" And it's like, it's once a week, right? And even unless there's some major issue, which I can't foresee right now, this will continue every week. Like that's the point, okay? And that is me. That is like a microcosm, or a case in point of, well, consistency comes to mind, but that is fulfillment. So it's like, so the point is, I'm pursuing a grand vision. And part of the grand vision is to document the process weekly, live, and share it with you. And that fulfills me. So thank you for being here. If you're live, if you are seeing if you're seeing it later, welcome. All right, that too, because it's live to you. All right. So actually, that's what's funny, is whenever you see this, it's live to you. So we are together tapping into the ether. Into the ether. To me, when I say the ether, this is another term, would be the super conscious energy, which I got from Brian Tracy. That's sort of how I perceive it, because there's the conscious mind, subconscious. The super conscious mind is sort of how how it blends together. It's almost like when a river flows into the sea, there's some point where the river and sea join, okay, where the waters kind of flow together. That's what it is. So your conscious stream into, because I'm tapping into the subconscious, super conscious ether, right? That's where together, as you watch this live, because again, it's live where you are, as you watch this, that's the whole point. Okay, and that's what's so cool. I mentioned previously that this is why there are no coincidences, because when you focus on your breathing is automatic, but when you take over your breathing and actually control it, you zero the conscious mind into the present moment. There is no future, there is no past. And when you do that, and like I said before, using your true, what's the term? It's like your heart. You are using your deep feelings, where these are the feelings. When you really feel something in your heart, you can cry easily. You feel overwhelmed. You are not concerned about if you are, I suggest, when you feel emotional, if you just don't care what anyone thinks, it's really a powerful feeling. So when you have this powerful, when you experience these powerful feelings, and you are in control of your breathing and present, you then send a conscious stream directly into the timeless realm. And within that timeless realm, which is source energy, that's where the divine consciousness is. That's how you can influence the past. And when something from the past comes to the future, when it comes to the present from the past, it's perceived as a coincidence. But what you've actually done is you've slightly shifted your timeline and influenced the past in that timeline. And that's why it seems like a coincidence. At the same time, we are shooting this up into the ether, into the timeless realm, and that can flow into the future. Boop. Hi. So now it's your present moment. And look at a clock, look at a calendar. It's your present moment, but in my present moment, it is the 8th of March 2026, but it's your present. So, and now this video has gotten to you. Okay? So this is how we manipulate time and our reality. And the reality, as I mentioned, you basically, when you timeline jump, you are jumping into different realities. And the universe understands persistence, consistency, and belief. And fulfillment, because think about that word, fulfillment is that, and is that feeling that is the language of the universe. By the way, I mentioned last because I just thought of Neville Goddard, who famously said, because people talk about The Secret. There was a book called The Secret. There's something I believe from Dale Carnegie talking about The Secret. I forgot the term. There's a term for it. I will revisit this in a future episode because I have it listed here about self-development influencers. And I want to provide you with a comprehensive list of ones that have influenced me through my life ever since I was a kid, and some little nuggets of knowledge that stuck with me. And that is how Quarless is becoming so powerful from these tools. So I want to provide that to you, and hopefully that will be helpful to you in your journey, in your co-creation. Okay? But Neville Goddard, who, as I mentioned last time, didn't exist until I timeline jumped, and then a few years ago became a character. But in my entire existence up until a few years ago, Neville Goddard did not exist. And then all of these different influencers and gurus and everything were that I knew about for 20, 30 plus years, they were mentioning Goddard. They would either call him Neville or they would say Neville Goddard. And that character then became part of my reality. And the most known quote, term, expression that he said, it was, Neville Goddard said, feeling is the secret. So there it is. Okay? And today we're talking about fulfillment. Pursuing something great, detaching from the outcome, being fulfilled by pursuing the thing, and that gets worked into these other elements that I mentioned about how to influence the nature of reality and get your own universe. Okay? So, and we don't need to fully understand it, but actually, because it's almost like if two different entities, this is why it's so confusing. If two different entities, want the same thing, like let's say like boxers or combat sports, right? Two different entities want the same thing, they can't both get it, right? So it's almost like, don't think too much, because that's the illusion where we believe that we are just, if you want to, we're just a cog in the wheel of this reality, and we don't have that much power or influence, etc. That is the illusion, okay? So, and I'm not fully sure how it works, right? It's beyond my pay grade. It's beyond my level of comprehension, but that doesn't mean it's not real, right? An airplane, it's massive, it's heavy, the wings based on the size of the airplane, it doesn't make sense that this thing could fly, but it flies, right? Through jet propulsion and engineering and all that stuff, right? But so I don't know that. I can't build a jet engine or make an airplane, but I'll get in one and I'll trust that it's going to fly me through the sky. That is what I'm talking about. And I don't even know how true this is, but I've heard that, I believe it's bumblebees have wings. The way bumblebees operate and fly, it defies the laws of physics. I've heard that. I have no idea. It might be totally false, but it came to me, so I'm going to throw it out. But it's still, the airplane analogy works. but this one works too. The idea is there are many things that I don't care how smart you are, there are many things that you don't understand how they work, but you trust in that they work because you know they work, because you can witness that they work. Okay? This is the same thing with how we have a collective consciousness, but at the same time we have our own individual reality. Okay? So take that as you will, but that is what it is. So right now you are perceiving, me, Jim Quarless, speaking to you through a device of some sort, and you receiving it and perceiving us as separate. So how can I be in your universe? Well, guess what? Or how could you be in your universe? In my universe, you're somebody over there listening to me thinking I might be a quack. I'm in your universe coming through, communicating a message that might be very powerful and effective. There might be 1,000, 10,000, multiple. There might be millions of people that think that this message is wacky, right? But there might be the one. You, Neona, are the one. Okay? So this message, whatever I've said, something small, may resonate and it might be the final piece to the puzzle of you creating something amazing. And then you know what happens? I'm now in your reality. And I'm just some character on the internet talking through your device, whatever. But you do something massive and powerful. All right? Give me a shout out now. Don't forget. All right? Join the site, Quarless.com. Let's go. All right. Yep. So, and I just wanted to reiterate, make sure that as you pursue things, this is what's so beautiful. Even it's wild. One of the things as a public performer, public speaker, or being on television, you become much more aware of the ums and ahs. And now when I watch television, even well-known people, others might not notice, but because I'm conscious of it, even now, see, I'll pause to gather my thoughts, and the silence is all right. Let's do it now. Don't worry about the time. We'll do a little mini lesson. It's very important on how not to say ums and ahs. Simply be comfortable in the silence and know that the silence actually makes you more effective when you communicate. I can't think of it now, but I'll throw out other ideas as well, other things that are fillers, like the word like. I'll throw out like. I don't really say I remember somebody used to always say and it was super annoying. And he actually made a point. Like, hey, I always say and I'm going to stop saying and he stopped saying So, that's another one. So, I use that a lot. However, I believe I use it to bridge the ideas, right? And I say right as well. So the first point, see, I said so again. As you communicate, whether it is one-on-one, in small groups, in front of a large audience, on television, in interviews, whatever it is, the first focus are your ums and ahs. And the other things like saying like, no, that's all right, because I'm giving examples like saying, I just said, Once you become aware, it becomes a fun exercise all the time because you become conscious of it. I was about to say so, but I stopped, and now I say, that's what I mean, okay? Good example. When now I'll share what I do. I think it's all right because I'm starting to shift. in order to shift maybe a different subject because I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to go, I might say, I might do something like, all right, so as I was saying before, like I'll do some kind of stalling, some kind of filler in order to like keep you engaged. If I totally stop and I'm silent, the key to stop, the key to not saying ums and ahs and filler space is when you know what you're going to say, or you're finishing a sentence or an idea, a little paragraph you formed in your mind to explain something. That's when you can pause with some silence and continue to finish your point without saying ums and ahs or other fillers for that matter. When we're shifting gears, though, I might stall a little bit. All right. And I might say, all right, I've covered that. Focus on fulfillment, to be fulfilled and interact. We've done that. And the key is you become a leader by default, naturally, because this is what resonates with people. They see you don't give up. You're pursuing your vision. You're caring about the people around you. Hopefully that's the type of character you are. That's the type of character I would like to resonate and are what Quarless.com is all about. So, I already mentioned it, the Jim Quarless music brand. So just so we're clear, Quarless.com is the creative ecosystem. So I was thinking about I don't want to make it all about me as the whole purpose of today's episode, right? It's about me pursuing something and having that influence others, and that would feel amazing as people pursue their visions and we're rocking and rolling, enjoying life, okay? Okay? I do that sometimes as well. So Quarless is a unique entity because it's a creative ecosystem and it's also a musical act. So pursuing that military style cadence, the music that's coming out will not, right now we have one dedicated, it's back there, can you see it? Out, out, out to the Marine Corps. Where is it? There it is. Let's do it again. Out, out, out to the Marine Corps. All right. There it is. Sorry if I hurt the speakers. That second, that was kind of weak. You know what I'm saying? So, Quarless as a brand is producing Quarless as a musical act is producing other tracks. So we have Ode to the Marine Corps. There is a patriotic American themed track coming out next. We are also creating, and it's all cadence style. So it's like the main vocal and then the repeating group vocal. Main vocal, repeating group vocal, footsteps with complementary musical instruments, given a good groove, good rhythm, positive. We are also creating cadence style music that has nothing to do with military, but it's that format, and it's about building your self-confidence and pursuing goals and dreams, whether it's at the gym or it's in life and business. So this is the Quarless brand, which represents the Quarless ecosystem. That's the musical act, I mean. And so I didn't want Jim Quarless, me, the musical artist, to overshadow anything. But the vision I got this past week was, again, who knows when I'm going to check out? So why am I going to wait and then, or have some kind of, maybe I'm going to lose my mojo, lose my juice, and then I won't be able to create this content, the musical content, in the future. So it came to me this week, I must pursue the musical aspect of my being while I also pursue the other brands, including the kids brand. So I'm co-creating with the universe in a way that benefits entities, it benefits humanity is the goal, the big vision, the big outcome that I'm looking for is to absolutely benefit multiple people, children, influence them to grow up and be very powerful characters in their own realities, okay? So why? And this came to me, Jim Quarless. It's like, who are you? A rock star entrepreneur. That's what it is. So it's like I'm pursuing business, I'm pursuing these different creative ideas, the Quarless ecosystem. So it's entrepreneurial, right? Making these different partnerships and deals with artists, with investors, with influencers. We're looking with charitable groups. This is focus, but at the same time, at my core, I'm a musical artist. I'm a creator. I'm a rock star, baby. So I am a rock star entrepreneur. Like this idea came to me. So why don't hide from it? That is what it is. I am that. Be that. So people right away clearly understand, oh, okay, that's what he is. So in that, why am I doing it though? Why? I want to ensure, how does it make sense is the key. Oh, because I'm a living example. So the Quarless.com ecosystem is a creative ecosystem, a digital economy, and part of that is to have creative artists. So why not, if I'm the founder, if I'm the creative director, why wouldn't I not be an artist and put my content out there? So I'm a living example. That's number one. Number two, this is going to help drive traffic. So if I'm just Jim Quarless, a musical artist, people may or may not like my content, right? But if it's Quarless, a Quarless artist, Jim Quarless, at first it might be a little bit strange for people to make the connection, right? Like how, obviously it's two, Quarless and Jim Quarless share that same name. So it's like, how does this work? However, but it's going to help drive traffic to the brand, right? Because as I pursue performing all over, as I put out content, all of this process of putting out creative content, musical content is different than just putting out Quarless brand related content. So as we pursue that, that's going to help build awareness and drive traffic to Quarless.com. And then as traffic comes to Quarless.com, the creative ecosystem, and me networking and being more involved with playing shows and getting out there, meeting different people within the music, entertainment industries, that is going to help recruit other creatives, other creators, co-creators to come on board and co-create, okay? And get on board. So it makes logical sense. Plus, it's my passion. For so far, this whole year, we're now in March, I have not been pursuing music because my sole focus has been on the creative ecosystem, being the director, and helping to develop the brands within Quarless.com, the ecosystem, which didn't include my music. I said, let me not be selfish. Let me put that on the side. Let's build this. However, there's this yearning in me. Like I said before, my intuition, there's something powerful beyond me that is telling me I may not understand it because it's like, how can I really, and maybe this is the false prison reality that I've created for myself, because it's like, I could definitely make money through teaching kids and through developing a bigger brand focused on kids, teaching kids. There's money there, absolutely. However, the musical aspect of Jim Quarless, the electro rock, electro pop type music, maybe there's no market for that. Maybe it's just like a hobby thing, and then I put it on the back burner, and then the universe came and smacked me, right? Saying, yo, this is your purpose. Get it out there. Don't worry about that. Remember, I talked all about this today. It's all about the fulfillment. So yes, the desired outcome for Jim Quarless music, Jim Q music, is to travel the world, playing different shows, opening for bands that I think are awesome and artists that I think are awesome, right? Opening for them as a start. Potentially, I'm the main show, right? Playing in festivals. This is like the vision, the outcome that is being pursued. And the thing that I've been missing, which is how I've been feeling a bit empty, is that for this year so far, the fulfillment of pursuing it hasn't been there. So that's what I'm talking about today. That's the purpose of why I'm sharing it with you. It's like whatever that thing is burning inside of you, fire it up. Let's go. You don't know when your time is up. So act as if your time is going to be up sooner than you think. Pursue that. And again, there needs to be, we can discuss this more in the future, because if you need to see how to earn money, right? And I'm going to jump into that quickly today. We have, and you know what? I'm going to finish with this today. We have other things I could talk about next time, but the musts, you got to think about musts, needs, and wants or desires. The musts in their rawest form, okay? You are a biochemical machine, okay? Like a computer. And like I'm on a computer now, the computer needs batteries, right? It needs a battery, okay? So think of it this way. Your musts in the most basic way are sleep, food, and water. That's all you really need. Okay? Not need, stay with me. Those are your musts. If you don't sleep, if you have massive sleep deprivation, you're going to go mental and die at some point. If you don't have, let's say you have no food and no water, your machine's going to shut down and it's over. So those are your absolute musts. So the key here is, now let's think about that. You must have food and must have water. Perhaps water is doable, like you can find a stream somewhere, you know what I mean? Food, I guess you could hunt, but let's get realistic in terms of the modern realm we live in, right? If everyone, all 8 billion people, became hunters on the planet at the same time, we'd be hunting each other. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying within this realm, within this reality, this timeline, resources are required. So although in order to survive, you need sleep, food, and water, let's go a step deeper. Resources are required, which are your food, either directly, your food and water are resources. Your ability to sleep without fear of, having some kind of shelter in order to sleep, that is part of the resource. So when we look at a level deeper than that, this now requires, within the reality we live in, some sort of value exchange. You're not just going to have people, unless you're a trust fund baby, you're not just going to have money come to you randomly. So you must, okay, let's focus on our must. You must eat, drink, and sleep. You must also participate in a value exchange of some sort, where you provide value based on your skills or something you can do, your labor, okay, your mind, maybe you're a consultant, or maybe you do labor work, etc. So this is the value you provide, okay? And then in exchange, you either get goods back, right? Like a barter situation, or you receive funds, and then with those funds, you then buy food and water and shelter, okay? So when we let's keep it very focused on this idea. Within this value exchange, the key and the purpose and the objective and all of that good stuff that I'm talking about is, how do you integrate your absolute purpose with providing value and receiving the ability, the resources needed in order to continue with the machine and potentially thrive with the machine that you exist inside of, okay? So and this is the key, we can explore this more. This is part of my existence, because some people, maybe they have their value exchange engine running, they're able to earn from that, right? And then with that, maybe they like to paint, they're passionate about painting, They then, in their spare time, they paint, they create, they love it. They're even involved in shows and whatever, but there's no income, there's no income stream coming from that. That's a doable, viable function. Like I absolutely get this model. For example, maybe you have someone that's like a dentist, for example. They make good money, they're into dentistry, but the passion is music. I'm thinking of my cousin. The passion is music, for example. Or would we say cousin-in-law? Anyway, the passion is music, for example, or the arts or something like that. That is absolutely doable. So that is a possible path. And what I'm sharing with you is that's how it feels with my situation. Because ultimately, let's say I have the children's, ultimately, yes, the intention and the outcome, the desired outcome, etc. The focus is to make Quarless.com huge. The creative ecosystem, digital economy, it's booming, it's blowing up, right? Awesome. It's a legacy that is left for generations to come, all right? All the known, there's a handful of known brands through history. That's one of them, Quarless, of course, right? So, but again, fulfillment is the goal. Fulfillment is the thing. Fulfillment is the fulfillment. So the skill set that I provide that is absolute, that brings in income, is children's education. So we're focused on children's education, but not just being a teacher hourly, paid per hour, earning okay money. And then at some point I get too old and the money's not there. And then it's just like blah. Okay. And then I'm collecting cans in the street. I see this, is very sad. Elderly here in Hong Kong, they collect cans, they collect cardboard, and they submit that for money. And I believe what they do is they pour water on the cardboard to not only to condense and flatten it, but it makes it heavier so they can earn more money. And I see that, and I'm aware, and it's sad. And my point is, if I'm just pursuing, being a regular teacher, and so plus with inflation and with everything happening, it's like, how secure am I really? So even within this, the value exchange related to teaching children, there are billions of children on the planet, and I have a unique methodology and strategy and way to rapidly teach children English. So this is critical on separating me, and I'm sharing this idea because maybe you're out there, you have some service-oriented business, and this could be helpful for you, okay? So the concept here is to take this, stay with me now, is to turn this from a fee for service and expand it. So now there are other educators, teachers who can provide the education based on, they get trained, they get certified, they know the Mr. Jim Q methodology. Okay. There's also the products. So there are materials and books, etc., that can be sold to schools, can be sold to parents, are available globally. Okay. There is it's just flowing to me, right? There's the Mr. Jim Q website that they can join for a subscription every month. And there's an interactive learning methodology tool. There's the app. Okay. There are all of the videos, the learning videos, direct teaching. The character, there's a show where there's communication between Mr. Jim Q and other characters and students. That dialogue is actually psychological. It's developed specifically to teach the foundational elements of the language in a fun, interactive way where they don't even know that they're learning. There are these songs, original songs that teach English in such an effective way. I am so excited about this. I'm fulfilled just thinking about it. Okay, but it's all about action as well, pursuing that. And finally, there are also within the Mr. Jim Q brand, there are the classic songs that are remade. Some of them, this is the idea for that, right? They will be remade, but some of these songs are brutal. Like the messaging is bad, right? Like, "Ba ba black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full." What do you think that's about? You know what I'm saying? So we do a remake of the original, and then we also, for fun, we do a remake with new lyrics, Mr. Jim Q lyrics, okay? Designed specifically for positivity and to not miss an opportunity for learning, okay? So what I just shared, that's where the money comes. But my other element, that's the let's call it the hobby, if you will, that actually has potential to bring in lots of money too. So why would I not pursue that? Rock star level success, traveling the world, performing in front of huge audiences, whether it's on the street, in a small club, or a massive venue, a stadium. You know what I'm saying? I perform my music. I love it. Okay. So, so yeah, so my formula is down. I got it. And now the goal is, as you come along this journey with us, you pursue yours as well and you get fulfilled as well. All right. So I'm just going to finish here with our accountability. I just heard about a podcast that went 10 hours long. Lex Friedman, I heard. And I've heard of other podcasts or broadcasts that go like 5 hours or 3 hours, you know. So our objective is to keep this within an hour, and we will the concept here is to expand on multiple platforms and also do interviews. So we'll fill the time. It won't just be me rambling, but this is beautiful because we're finishing now episode 10. So we have 10 plus hours of these rants. And within there are little golden nuggets we're going to pull out, we're going to put out there. That is then going to get trickled in with interviews, with other content related to getting other artists on board, sponsorships. Like it's all going to blend. It is all blending together because we're creating it now in the present tense. So accountability, I've been pursuing, and we'll cover this next week in more detail, but I've been pursuing daily these rituals, meditating every day, and starting to develop a format which relates to scheduling as well as task management. It's a pretty cool concept. We'll cover it next episode. And everything else I've been behind it, okay? So this week, there's no more hesitation. No more procrastination. It's all about content. We are pursuing releasing content. It may be messy. We want the objective is obviously quality, but we're just gonna start pumping content out there to create the awareness as we continue to develop and grow. So that's what's happening. And like I used to work in manufacturing, it's called a running change. So we get it out there. Appreciate you. Like, share, comment, positive comments, all that stuff. Let's help build this as we continue to grow. And I'll see you next week. All right. Much love. Thanks again.